Hello everybody, Ranger Mark Mello with the Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park, welcoming you to our 9th Ranger Chat. Kinda tough to believe that we've gone through 9 of these already, but I guess time flies when you're having fun, or at least when you're trying to have fun. This week we're going to start you off with a poem, and no, this is not a poem that I wrote, but a poem that comes to us from a very particular time in our past, speaking about one individual from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. "What shall I do?" quoth honest Sam. "There is no war a-brewin', and duels are but dirty things, scarce worth a body's doing. And if I would be president, I see I'm up a tree, for neither prince nor congressman have nominated me." But still that maggot in his head told Sam he was a gump, for if he could do nothing else, most surely he could jump. "Aye, right," quoth Sam, and out he went, and on the bridge he stood, and down he jumped full 20 feet, and plunged into the flood. And when he safely swam to land, he stood there like a stump, and all the gaping crowd cried out, "Oh, what a glorious jump." Perhaps not the best piece of poetry you've ever heard in your life, but a pretty neat poem talking to us about a young boy by the name of Samuel Patch. Sam Patch started out as a mule spinner working in Pawtucket, Rhode Island at the White Mill, who achieved fame and renown as a daredevil jumper. Seeking a release from the hard days of work in the mill, Sam discovered he possessed an unusual talent, jumping into the river from increasingly dangerous heights. Starting with rocks and then from buildings, Sam earned quite the reputation in Pawtucket. In 1805, Sam jumped from the roof of the Yellow Mill into the river. That's nearly an 80-foot plunge. And in 1813, he made the jump off of the 6-story tall stone mill, which sat just below the Pawtucket Falls. But Sam's jumping career did not end in Pawtucket. He went on tour, traveling the nation, jumping from heights as great as Niagara Falls. But there is more to the story than just this daredevil young boy from Pawtucket who once was a mule spinner in one of the textile mills there. And for that part of the story, we're going to join our friend and ranger colleague, Ranger Allison Horrocks from Lowell National Historical Park.
Hi, I'm Allison. It's great to be talking about the Blackstone River Valley again. Sam Patch is someone who really fascinates me. How did a boy who made frightening leaps become famous? And what does his story have to teach us about growing up in the early republic? As Ranger Mark mentioned, Sam Patch got his start in Pawtucket, just like the Industrial Revolution. At the peak of his career, he did something incredible, perhaps even absurd. While jumping from Niagara Falls, he kissed an American flag. Some called Sam the Yankee Leaper for his many stunts. Others simply called him dangerous. Looking at his early years, few people would have guessed that he would make headlines. After all, he was one of many boys working to make thread. As a child in a growing country, Sam found fame by staring down the rushing waterways of Mill Town. In his lifetime, some people made a name for themselves by becoming clever, and others by becoming rich. Patch took a chance and did both. After leaving Rhode Island, Sam worked in a few more industrial cities. He later lived in Paterson, New Jersey, and then in New York State. All this time, he was making a living through mill work and public shows. He was so well known that Andrew Jackson even named his horse Sam Patch. He elicited a combination of awe and horror. Is this really how an ordinary person would achieve fame in the United States? In 1829, Patch's proposed stunt drew a big crowd at the Genesee River. By now, he was a bona fide showman. Patch pushed a bear into the falls and made his own jump. This terrible and likely terrifying show did not net the profits he had hoped for. So Patch promised an even better performance and prophetically called it Sam's last jump. Comparing himself to Napoleon, Patch took his position on November 13, 1829. Something went very wrong. All those bystanders could only watch as he fell. His body did not move the right way. It was recovered in early 1830. Sam Patch grew up with the first few decades of the United States. We can even think of him as an early example of the American dream. He made it big, after all. But Patch also came from a family of struggle. The move to Pawtucket by the Patches was born out of necessity and, frankly, poverty. Family difficulties with substance abuse also compounded the Patches' years of body-breaking work in the mills. Patch himself was known as a young person and as an adult to struggle with alcohol addiction. Maybe those leaps were the only times that he felt free from the burdens of eking out a living. In the young United States, it was hard for people like Patch to grow up anonymous, a mill hand. Patch left for something greater, and as much as he wowed others, he achieved his greatest notoriety in his very young and untimely death. What did this say about the young republic?
Thank you, Ranger Allison, and thank you all for joining us for another episode of A Ranger Chat. Please leave any comments that you have for us down below. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you out there along the Blackstone really soon.